Thank you, Mr. Liddy, for your public service. I understand you are a retired CEO of one of America's great companies, and you were asked to come back and serve, and we appreciate it. Thank you. I have so many questions, I'm going to have to submit them to you in writing and trust that you will respond to the committee because we have very limited time. On the question of bonuses, you mentioned that a number of people said that they would give back their bonuses. Well, I've been told by Chairman Rangel that on the floor tomorrow will be a version of my bill that will tax the bonuses at 90%. So the money will be coming back to the Treasury. How many people have said they will give money back to the Treasury, and after this bill passes, maybe more will give back? Wouldn't you agree? How many people tell you they would give back the money?
I don't have the information, Congresswoman. I just made that request this morning, and I've been in this hearing.
Okay. If you could get back to us, we'd really appreciate it. Also, I requested from Treasury and the Federal Reserve for many, many months now to get information on who is receiving the money. The taxpayers own AIG now, 80%, yet they were saying it's proprietary. We own it. We should see the books. Just on Sunday night, they released this information, and why were you fighting giving us this information when it belongs to the American taxpayer?
I wasn't fighting anything. The Federal Reserve has a policy against disclosure of counterparties, and when we saw the testimony of Chairman Bernanke and Vice Chairman Cohn, I had a conversation with the people of the Federal Reserve and said we should figure out a way to disclose this. We made the various telephone calls to make certain that the counterparties would be okay with that, and so we disclosed on the credit default swaps and the RMBSs, the securities lending, and the municipalities. We disclosed all of it. So it really wasn't on the part of AIG that we were attempting to husband any information or not disclose. We did it.
Really? So the Federal Reserve, you were willing to disclose and the Federal Reserve would not disclose. Is that correct?
Well, we were never asked. The Federal Reserve had a policy of not disclosing counterparty associations. And with respect to Maiden Lane 3, they're the ones that own that structure, and they're the ones that negotiated with the counterparties.
Are there any other disclosures that you have attempted to make but have been blocked by the Federal Reserve or Treasury? Any other requests that you have that has been blocked that you would have been willing to give the information?
Not that I can think of, no.
Now, really, the federal government is not required or obligated to bail out AIG. Isn't that correct? Bailing out AIG was never a government obligation.
It was never an obligation. Again, it was a decision made before I was there, but as I understand it, the representatives of the Federal Reserve and Treasury believed that AIG's failure would cause a shock to the system on a worldwide basis that would be unpalatable. Yeah,
AIG prepared a document that I'd like to put in the record that said that if AIG failed, it would be a tremendous shock to our American economy. I would venture to say that if every company said and prepared a document like that, our Treasury would be bankrupt. So I looked at the counterparties. We were told that this was systemic risk. Now, some of the counterparties were municipalities. I'm a former city council member. I love cities. But if we bailed out every municipality that made a bad decision, we'd be bankrupt in this country. So I would venture to say that that was not a systemic risk. Also in the document that I haven't thoroughly studied because we just got it, there were 2 foreign banks. Certainly bailing out foreign banks is not a systemic risk to the American economy. I would say we were basically bailing out the government of Germany and France. If the bank was so important to their economy, they would have bailed it out. So indirectly we bailed out 2 different companies, 2 different countries, and I would venture to say that it was not a systemic risk to our own economy. So I would venture, were there any guidelines that said what would be systemic risk and what would... Anyway, I just found that very, very disturbing. But the main point is we could have saved the insurance arm but let the derivatives business go and possibly be in a better economic condition. In the prior hearing, I questioned the insurance regulator, one of them of AIG. He said the insurance arm was very healthy. Would you agree with that?
Yes, they were and are very healthy.
And I would venture to say that probably not many Americans are buying insurance from AIG right now. It would probably be better for the company to divide to have the insurance go forward and be healthy and divide out the derivatives that is pulling down the risky products division that is pulling down the company. Would you agree? The insurance regulator told me after the hearing he thought it should be divided. It should go that way, that we should come in, possibly take control in a bank holiday for a day and divide the company. Would you agree?
That's exactly what we're doing.
That's exactly what you're doing?
Yes.
So are you going to have a bank holiday?
No.
How are you going to do it?
The dividing of AIG.
Pardon me?
The dividing of AIG is exactly what we're doing. So the entity that's existed for 90 years as AIG, it will over time cease to exist. We're selling assets wherever people can afford to buy those assets. We're taking assets and putting them in trust and giving them to the Federal Reserve, big assets that can be taken public at a later time or sold when the market recovers. So they will move out from AIG. We're going to sell a minority interest in our property casualty business, possibly take it public and spin it off. So that is exactly what we need to do in order to repay the taxpayer.
Last question. Would you say it's a serious mistake to have allowed a risky product to be attached to one of the great insurance companies in the world? Was that a bad regulatory decision?
Yes, I would say two things to you, Congresswoman. One, anytime you see a business stray from what it's really good at, watch out. And two, and Chairman Bernanke uses this vernacular, and I think it's very appropriate. What we had at AIG was a series of well-regarded, well-run, well-capitalized insurance companies, and to it we attached an internal hedge fund. That internal hedge fund worked fine for a while, but we became too aggressive in terms of the risks that we were prepared to take, and when the capital markets stopped functioning, it exposed that aggressiveness for what it was, and that's what caused the liquidity problem.
My time has expired.